A young woman came to the department for hymenoplasty. Her delicate face flushed with shyness as she hesitantly asked, "Will anyone be able to tell?" I found her likable and advised her to be honest. If two people can't be together because of a hymen, what's the point of continuing? The young woman blushed even harder. "I had an accident while jogging. He says he loves my pure and innocent image, and I'm willing to do this." 3 months later, the young woman came to me again, clutching her lower abdomen, her eyes practically overflowing with happiness. Before I could offer my congratulations, her boyfriend called. "Honey, is the baby okay? Get ready, I'm rewarding you with a week-long trip abroad." After the call ended, I couldn't snap out of my daze for a long time. The young woman waved her phone in front of my eyes. "Olivia, if there's no love between two people, there's no point in continuing." That's when I found out. Her boyfriend was my husband. At the coffee shop, Ashley ordered me a latte. Iced, sugar-free, right? 3 years ago, the youngest surgical prodigy at Central Hospital gave up a promising career for a less demanding department to take care of her family. "But Olivia, why are you doing this? Pete doesn't love you anymore. Why can't you let go and find someone more suitable?" She tilted her head slightly, her charming face showing no guilt or shame of being a mistress. Half brazen, half pitying. I sipped my coffee, suppressing my anger. "You went to the trouble of investigating me and actively approaching me just to provoke me into leaving?" Ashley scoffed. "I just want you to face reality and stop pestering Pete. He hasn't touched you in a long time, has he? He's already picked out a name for the baby I'm carrying." In that instant, I had the urge to throw the scalding hot coffee in her face and give her a piece of my mind. But what would be the point? It was a fact that she was pregnant with Zane's child, and it was also a fact my husband, whom I had loved for 8 years, had been working overtime for 6 months straight and barely touched me. The glass window reflected my tired face, the fine lines etched by time. I regretted my impulsive decision to accept her invitation in order to learn more about this other woman. What was there to argue with her about? If she wanted a cheating man, she could have him. If you're still not convinced, we can make a bet. As I was leaving, Ashley chased after me, her confident face flushed with excitement. "The day after tomorrow is your 8th anniversary. Do you think he'll spend it with you, or take me out?" As soon as she finished speaking, her phone chimed. Zane's voice message to her was full of doting affection. "Sweetheart, have you eaten? I know you like seafood, so I had some flown in especially for you." Lowering my head, I saw a message on my own phone. Just a few words, "Working late. Go to sleep." That's when I realized that the happiness I thought I had was just a carefully maintained lie. At 3 in the morning, Zane came home, put down his briefcase, and tiptoed to the bathroom. "Why aren't you turning on the light?" My sudden voice startled Zane. He saw me sitting on the sofa, a flicker of panic in his eyes, but he quickly put on his usual gentle expression and came over to hug me lightly. "Of course, I didn't want to wake my darling. You work during the day and do housework when you get home. It breaks my heart to see you working so hard. If you don't get enough sleep, you'll get wrinkles and won't be pretty anymore." So he knew how much I put into this family. He was busy with work and had a slight obsession with cleanliness, so we couldn't hire a nanny. I took care of everything inside and out. For him, I gave up my career and went from being a surgical prodigy to a full-time homemaker. How ironic that my own womb was empty, while the mistress was already carrying his child. If you like young and pretty women, just I so. He paused, a hint of probing in his slightly stiff smile. "Why are you suddenly saying this? Olivia, I love you no matter what. You're still not asleep. Are you upset and want to talk?" Before he could respond, his phone on the coffee table suddenly lit up. A voice message from someone saved as "Sweetheart." Zane snatched the phone back almost instantly and rushed to the bathroom, excusing himself with work stuff. When he came out, he headed for the entryway to change his shoes with barely concealed urgency. "Honey, a big project has run into problems. You should get some rest. I'll make it up to you when this is all over." Suddenly, I couldn't remember the last time Zayn had taken me out. The wedding photo on the wall glowed softly. The house was still neat and tidy, and the gifts Zayn had given me filled the study. I had even selected the most valuable ones to store at the bank. Everyone said our marriage was a model of marital bliss. But all the warmth of the past now carried the coldness of lies and betrayal, making me feel cold all over and almost unable to breathe. Olivia, looks like you're going to lose. Pete has already booked plane tickets for the day after tomorrow to go abroad with me for a whole week. Oh, and by the way, Pete won't be coming home tonight. I told him my stomach hurt, and he rushed over here because he was worried about me being alone. After reading the mistress's taunting message, I sat quietly until dawn. I remembered the first year of our marriage when I had an allergic reaction to peanuts and broke out in hives. Zayn had rushed me to the hospital, not even batting an eye despite missing out on a $300 million deal. In the third year, I collapsed from exhaustion after a surgery, and he stormed into the hospital and tore the hospital director a new one. But last year, when I had the flu and a fever of 102, he only sent someone with a fruit basket and didn't even visit me at the hospital. I thought time had made our love more subtle, less intense. I realized that he had simply transferred his love to someone else. Honey, why are you up so early? I brought you breakfast, and look, the company's new jewelry collection. I had to use all my persuasion to convince the board to let me have it for you. Zayn came back early in the morning with dark circles under his eyes and immediately took out the gift, his face wearing the same adoring expression as before, showing no hint of anything amiss. The more he did this, the colder I felt. I couldn't tell how much of his affection over the past 8 years had been genuine and how much had been a facade. Why aren't you saying anything? Olivia, didn't you sleep well? Should I call in sick for you at the hospital? He looked anxious and tenderly stroked my forehead. I resisted the strong urge to push him away and stared deeply into his eyes. Zayn, I've taken the day off tomorrow. Can you spend the day with me? I wanted to know if 8 years of love could compare to half a year with Ashley. I wanted to know if he could give me one last bit of dignity before we divorced. Tomorrow is really impossible. Zayn feigned difficulty and hugged me tighter. How about at the end of the month? I'll take you wherever you want to go. Seeing that I didn't respond, he pouted innocently. Honey, we have a long future ahead of us. Why does it have to be tomorrow? I was stunned and pushed him away instinctively, taking 2 steps back as if fleeing. He not only didn't choose me, he even forgot. He forgot our 8th anniversary. 3. My outburst made Zayn suspicious, but before he could comfort me, he received a phone call and left in a hurry. Half an hour later, Ashley sent me a photo of them together. I had loved Zayn for 8 years and given him almost everything, only to be utterly defeated by the mistress. Olivia, I've dug up some dirt on that bitchy mistress you asked me to investigate. My best friend sent me Ashley's information. The second daughter of the Young group in Metropolitan City, though born out of wedlock and raised by the housekeeper after leaving the Young family at a young age, she still had the right to inherit 10% of the Young family's assets. And if Zayn could get together with Ashley, he could rely on the Young family's boat to join the ranks of the Fortune 500. For a moment, I didn't know whether Zayn was drawn to Ashley because of love or for her connections. But their mutual affection and care for each other couldn't be faked. Ashley, with her background, still went for hymenoplasty for Zayn's sake. And Zayn was completely focused on her, spending all his free time with her for the past 6 months. Compared to them, I, the wife, was more like the mistress. Olivia, should I teach that bitch a lesson? So what if she's from the Young family? People who destroy other people's families must pay the price. No need. My heart is still as water, I calmly interrupted my best friend. I'm not going to die without Zayn. I've already contacted a divorce lawyer. My best friend was full of heartache. But you've sacrificed your career and health for Zayn, and you can't get them back. So I didn't want to waste another second on Zayn. That day, I packed all my things and contacted a divorce lawyer. He was the one who cheated first, so I wouldn't give up a single cent of what was rightfully mine. To prevent him from noticing and transferring assets in advance, I pretended I didn't know anything and continued to cook porridge for him, putting it in the pot so he could heat it up when he came back from his night shift. Unexpectedly, Zane, who was so preoccupied with Ashley, actually came back early once, bringing a bouquet of bright red flowers and feigning affection, suggesting we go shopping at the mall. Was it to make up for his guilt? Or was Ashley unavailable? I didn't bother to think about it and nodded perfunctorily. Let's go shopping. It was just as well as many of T.H. old things that reminded me of him needed to be thrown away. Honey, let's go to this store. I think classic styles of clothes suit you better. Zane blocked my path to the trendy women's clothing store and pointed to a brand of clothing for middle-aged and older women. I clenched my fists, trembling slightly out of control. Zane, what are you trying to hide? Or do you see me as a middle-aged woman who has lost her charm, that you've grown so disgusted with me that you haven't come home in 6 months? At that moment, Ashley was watching the show with her arms crossed in the trendy women's clothing store. I wanted to know how Zane would respond. Honey, what are you talking about? I think those brightly colored clothes are too frivolous, so I don't want you to wear them. No matter what you become, you'll always be the most beautiful woman in my eyes. We rarely get out, so be good, okay? His sickeningly sweet tone made me shiver. No. Zane, what if I insist on going to that store? He concealed his impatience, his face stiffening slightly. Don't make a scene. Last time, it was because of your recklessness that we lost the baby. Olivia, we're not young anymore, so stop acting childish. I couldn't hear the rest of what he said. My mind was filled with the phrase, because of your recklessness, we lost the baby. I had been weak since I was a child, and childbirth would involve great risks. Not only was it easy to lose the baby, but my own body could also be left with serious and persistent illnesses. Zane knew all this before we got married, but he kept hinting that he liked children and wanted a baby, and it had become an obsession in his heart. I loved him, so I risked my life to get pregnant 3 years ago. As a result, I had a miscarriage after a surgery, and Zane blamed me for not listening to him and insisting on working during my pregnancy. But the doctors all said that my miscarriage was inevitable and had nothing to do with work. I explain. Edit to Zane, and he said he understood, and he hadn't mentioned it again in recent years. Only now did I realize that he hadn't brought it up not because he didn't care, but because he had been holding it in all along. Now, he didn't want me to see Ashley, so he blurted it out in a moment of panic. So Zane, have you been blaming me since 3 years ago? Have you been neglecting me because I can't have children? But you promised me before I tried to get pregnant that no matter what happened, you would continue to love me and be good to me. As a result, I had a miscarriage for you, developed a chronic illness, and had no choice but to give up my dreams and career, gradually becoming a housewife. And now you're starting to despise me? The emotions that had been building up finally erupted out of control at that moment. I would rather Zane had simply grown tired of me and cheated because he no longer had feelings for me. But I couldn't stand the fact that it was because I couldn't have children. I ruined my life by having a miscarriage because I loved him, and it became the reason he abandoned me. How could I bear it? When did I despise you? Olivia, what's been going on with you these past few days? Why are you so sensitive? I haven't been neglecting you. It's because the company is too busy, and I really don't have time. Wait another week, okay? After I come back from my business trip and finish this big project. He coaxed me all the way home from the shopping mall, constantly making vows and promises. But the time he was asking me to wait was the week he was planning to spend abroad with the mistress. After my heart died, I calmed down instead. Okay, I'll wait for you. In a week, the divorce agreement should also be drafted by the lawyer. Olivia, be good at home, okay? I'm going to the company to take care of things as soon as possible. Seeing that I had calmed down, he breathed a slight sigh of relief and was about to leave again. At the same time, Ashley's message lit up my screen. I asked Pete why he didn't say hello to me at the mall, and he rushed over to explain. Sometimes, it's annoying when a man is too clingy. I glanced over it briefly, no longer feeling anything. Zane had already grasped the doorknob in front of me, turning to look back at me with worry and a hint of probing in his eyes. Olivia, is there really nothing you want to say to me? I was about to shake my head when there was a knock on the door. Zane opened it to see the delivery guy holding a cake and a bunch of balloons, loudly wishing us, happy 8th anniversary. That's when I remembered that I had been preparing for this anniversary for days in advance, and I had bought the cake, candles, and balloons, instructing the shop to deliver them on time to give Zane a surprise. But obviously, there was no surprise, only sudden fright. Zane's face gradually turned pale, and his clenched palms were bleeding. After a long period of shock, he squeezed out a panicked, trembling voice, Olivia, why didn't you remind me that today is our wedding anniversary? 5:12:01 a.m. The time I had carefully arranged now made me look incredibly stupid and ridiculous. I didn't know how much of the panic he was showing at that moment was due to fear of losing me, but the outcome was already decided, and I wasn't moved in the slightest. Just as I was about to tell him to forget about the anniversary and go do his own thing, Zane's apologetic voice rang out, I'm sorry, honey. This project is really important. It concerns the company's future development. I'll make it up to you when I get back, okay? Next year, I'll definitely give you an unforgettable anniversary. A bitter feeling welled up in my heart, and I couldn't speak. So, regardless of whether it was our wedding anniversary, nothing could stop him from running to Ashley? Looking at the pleading in his eyes, I slightly tugged at the corners of my mouth and nodded. But in my heart, I say, there is no next year. Zane, there is no future for us. The next morning, Ashley couldn't wait to send me a photo of her and Zane boarding a plane. I, on the other hand, went to the bank, planning to take out the valuable gifts Zane had given me over the years. Before coming, I had roughly calculated that all the gifts added up to 8 figures. Even if I sold them off at a discount, my half of the property would be a considerable amount. But the words of the bank manager struck me like a bolt from the blue, and I felt cold all over. Mr. Zane already took out the gifts you deposited. Didn't he tell you? I couldn't believe it. Why would Zane take these gifts without my knowledge? But the records provided by the bank couldn't be faked. Recovering from my shock, I immediately used all my resources to check the assets under my and Greg's names. That's when I realized that since the day I had a miscarriage 3 years ago, Zane had been slowly transferring all the marital assets. In other words, all the good things he had done for me over the years were a pretense, all lies. The man I had sacrificed my health and everything for had been planning to kick me out the moment I lost my ability to have children. Every gift, every kiss, every sweet word was a ploy to keep me stable, hiding cold and vicious calculations behind it. The beaches in Hawaii are truly stunning. Has Pete ever taken you there? We're already discussing marriage. We're considering whether or not to invite you when the time comes. Olivia, Pete really doesn't love you anymore. What's the point of holding on? All you're doing is torturing yourself. I found that in the 7 days I was lost and despairing after losing everything, Zane had taken Ashley to 7 countries and visited a dozen or so attractions, having a loving and enjoyable time. At night, I couldn't sleep even after taking sleeping pills. My mind was filled with images of Zane. He was so cautious and discreet. If Ashley hadn't come to my door, I might not have seen through him until the day I was kicked out with nothing. What should I do? How could I fight back? There were no loopholes in any of the assets he had transferred. I was tormented to the point of collapse by deep helplessness and resentment, and the chronic illness from my miscarriage flared up again, causing me excruciating pain. The day Zane came back, I looked pale and gaunt in the mirror, scaring him so much that he grabbed me and held me tight, trembling uncontrollably. Why do you look so terrible? Olivia, are you sick? What did the doctor say? Is it serious? His superb pretense made me sneer. Zane, do you feel a sense of accomplishment from deceiving me so badly? 6, you don't have a fever. Why are you talking nonsense? Olivia, don't scare me. What's wrong with you? Have you seen a doctor? Having lost my assets, there was no point in maintaining any pretense or restraint. I pushed him away fiercely, my hoarse voice filled with only coldness and hatred. How long are you going to keep pretending? I already know about Ashley, the baby, and the assets. Weren't you planning all this time to force me to leave with nothing? Zane, you've succeeded. Let's get a divorce. I clenched my fists, almost grinding my teeth to pieces. No matter how unwilling I was, I could only let it go for now and fight back later. The top priority now was to leave him. Every second I spent with him suffocated me. I thought Zane would reveal a triumphant smile and agree readily. At most, he would give me some money out of consideration for the past. But I didn't expect that even at this point, he would still pretend, hugging me tightly despite my resistance, trembling even more than I was. Olivia, you've misunderstood me. I never thought about divorcing you or making you leave with nothing. I did transfer the assets and bank gifts, but I saved them all for you. As long as you want them, I can return them to you at any time. My agitatio made me impatient to hear him finish, and I bit his shoulder hard. The metallic taste of blood filled my mouth, dripping from the corners of my mouth, but Zane didn't struggle at all, and his grip remained as tight as ever. I grew even more furious. You've taken everything from me, but you still won't let me go? Zane, I'll say it again, I'm not to blame for the miscarriage. Do you need me to pay for the baby with my life before you'll be satisfied? Besides this, I couldn't think of any other reason for him to continue pretending. What exactly do you want me to do to let me go and divorce me? Zane's voice was urgent and firm. Olivia, I'm not getting a divorce. Before he could finish speaking, I used all my strength to push him away, and I fell backward, hitting the corner of the coffee table with the back of my head, causing me to grit my teeth in pain. The sudden change and the uncontrolled emotions triggered my chronic illness again. The tearing pain all over my body made me afraid to move, and I froze there stiffly. Olivia, are you okay? Zane ran over to hug me, but the intense pain it caused brought tears to my eyes. He thought I was grieving over the relationship. I'm sorry. I won't see Ashley again. Which of those gifts do you want? I can get them for you. Even the most expensive and rare treasure in the company. As long as you don't sell it, I can get it for you. Olivia, please forgive me this once, okay? I wanted to tell him to get lost, but I was in too much pain to speak. I never cared about those gifts. What was most precious to me was the thought behind them, his caring heart. But he had been using gifts to dangle me, coax me, and try to take advantage of me. What was he plotting now? I couldn't think of it, and I didn't dare to think about it. I bit my teeth, enduring the excruciating pain, and slowly and laboriously crawled out. As long as I could get away from him, I didn't care about anything else. Don't move around, Olivia. I'm going to call an ambulance. No, I'll take you to the hospital right now. Just as he squatted down, his phone rang. The only person he would still be willing to answer at this time was Ashley. Perhaps driven by an urgent and irrational desire, Zane didn't hide it from me this time. Ashley's painful moans came from the other end of the phone, sounding as if there was a problem with the baby in her womb. I have painkillers at home. I'll get them for you now. After hanging up, Zane gave me some medicine as quickly as possible and rushed out the door. You heard it too. Something happened to the baby in Ashley's womb. I can't ignore a human life. Take your medicine and wait for me at home. I'll definitely come back as quickly as possible. As he spoke, he went out the door. He didn't even bother to pretend with his actions. 3 years ago, I had a miscarriage for Zane and ruined my career. Now, because of him, my old illness flared up. Was I going to lose my life too? Crawling to the side of a deserted flower bed, I couldn't crawl any further and collapsed on the ground in despair, leaving my life and death to fate. Dimly, a familiar figure suddenly appeared before my eyes. I looked up, and it was actually Ashley. There wasn't even a hint of abdominal pain on her face. She stood naturally and upright, her eyes carrying the pity of a mistress towards the wife who had been defeated. You're still not willing to let go, even like this? Olivia, Isn't what I've done enough to make you see that Pete really doesn't care about you at all? I had everything taken away from me, and I still had to endure the mistress's insults. At that moment, utter anger overwhelmed my reason, causing me to shout hoarsely through the pain, "You pretended that something was wrong with the baby to coax Pete to come to you just to humiliate me in person? Ashley, the reason you were able to win isn't because I don't have any tricks, but because I look down on a cheating bag like Pete. I couldn't care less about your affairs. But that doesn't mean I'll let you humiliate me. When I post your dirty secrets online, people will help me hire an army of internet trolls to create momentum. How much do you think you weigh in the eyes of the Young family? Do you think Pete will have the courage to risk offending the Young family to continue being with you?" These words exhausted all my strength. In my gradually blurring vision, Ashley squatted down in front of me, her delicate face showing a flush of shame and indignation. "I didn't come here specifically to humiliate you. My stomach really did hurt, so I called Pete. But I got better quickly, but he was late and I couldn't get him on the phone, so I came to check." And she bent down and struggled to hold me in her arms. "I know that being a mistress is terrible. I'm willing to pay the price, willing to make it public, to be cursed and criticized. But compared to these, isn't love more important? 8. Pete doesn't love you anymore. Why do you keep clinging to him? It's not just us who are suffering, but you too. I approached you to make you see our relationship, not to provoke you, but just to make you face reality. Olivia, you're a very talented doctor. I respect you, so why are you so confused when it comes to relationships?" She held me, and even her tears seemed moving and passionate. Her small body was full of energy, dragging me little by little to the hospital with difficulty. After taking me to the hospital, Ashley was almost exhausted, but she didn't sleep and stayed up until I woke up. Looking at her sweat-soaked bangs and the worry in her eyes that didn't seem fake, I began to re-examine Ashley. From beginning to end, she hadn't done anything excessive to me. She had only told me about what had happened between her and Pete and advised me to leave Pete. "Olivia, I'm begging you. You've already lost. Can you please stop torturing yourself?" After treatment, I had It covered a little, and I nodded slightly. "Okay, I'll listen to you." She sniffed. "Really? Really?" After a pause, I said, "However, you may not have really won either. We can make another bet, betting on whether Pete really loves you or is just using you." I finally understood why Ashley always showed me pity and conflicted emotions. She was just a young girl who hadn't seen the world, and Pete could easily use some tricks to make her fall head over heels in love. Naturally, she would believe whatever he said. In her eyes, I was a pitiful person clinging to the ashes of love and refusing to let go. Whether she wanted to save me or simply wanted to marry Pete, in any case, she was the one who saved me when I was on the verge of death after being abandoned by Pete. Now, it's my turn to save her. Just tell Gregory that Ashley's family found out about her being your mistress, and they revoked her inheritance rights. You went to argue, someone pushed you, and you accidentally fell and had a miscarriage. I loved Zane with all my heart for 7 years, but I couldn't warm his heart. I was no match for his career and his child. If Peach loses her value, will he still love Peach? The bold, passionate young woman in front of me nodded confidently. "Okay, I'll bet you. I hope this time you'll be convinced and wake up to find someone better." 9. Zane got into a minor car accident on the way to see Peach. He was fine, but his phone broke, so he was unreachable. He went back to the company to get a new phone and realized he couldn't contact either me or Peach. "Honey, is the baby okay? Why aren't you answering the phone? I searched all over the hospital and couldn't find you. Where are you? Don't scare me, okay?" Peach showed me the message Zane had sent her. "We're both missing, but the first thing he does is ask about me. Doesn't that say it all?" I gave a wry smile, didn't say anything, and took out my phone as well. Almost identical messages made Peach slightly stunned, and for the first time, doubt appeared on her face regarding this relationship. She and Zane had met at a party, chatted happily, and exchanged contact information. According to Peach, She didn't know Zayn had a family at first. Having lacked family love since she was a child, she was attracted by Zayn's thoughtfulness and charm, and she took the initiative to pursue him. At first, Zayn refused her, saying he already had a wife, and Peach was prepared to let go. The change happened one night when he was drunk. Zayn said he no longer had any feelings for me and that I was the one who wouldn't let go and was clinging to him. Peach saw hope again. I concluded, this is his way of playing hard to get. He had you figured out before he even approached you. I knew Zayn was capable of such calculation and patience. Peach shook her head vehemently. Impossible. Even if Zayn doesn't love me, he's definitely not the kind of bad person who's good at scheming. Is that so? I took out the records of Zayn secretly transferring assets acquired during the marriage, as well as chat logs sufficient to prove that we were at least superficially in love and that neither of us was clinging to the other. Peach finally understood that what she thought was a passionate, romantic, and unforgettable love was nothing more than a carefully calculated scheme by Zayn. She lost the second bet, and she lost miserably. When she paid a great price to have several respected figures in the business world cooperate with her in a play, faking that she had been abandoned by the Young family and had a miscarriage, Zayn immediately blocked all her contact information. More decisive and resolute than I had imagined. Without even a word of explanation, not even a word of farewell. At the same time, my phone was bombarded with messages from Zayn. Darling, I've really changed. I won't do anything to hurt you again. I've blocked all of Peach's contact information. I promise I'll never see her again. As long as you promise not to divorce me, I can return all the property and gifts to you. Please, just answer the phone. Please don't ignore me. I really have my reasons. I can't explain it clearly on the phone. I'll explain it to you in person. Through the words, I could imagine his face, so skilled at acting. But what I couldn't understand was that I had already lost my value. What was the purpose of him saying these things? Just as I was wondering, Peach, with her eyes swollen from crying, came over and said, "You win. What are you going to do now? Go back to Zayn and give him another chance to continue observing him?" I chuckled and said without hesitation, I would rather die than go back. I said that from the moment he cheated, I already looked down on this man. After I finished speaking, I realized that Peach was in a bad mood. Just as I was about to comfort her, Peach wiped away her tears and gritted her teeth. In that case, let's join forces and fight back. That scum has tricked us so badly. We can't let him off easy. After a pause, I couldn't help but raise the corners of my mouth. It's good to be young. You dare to love and hate, and you can let go so quickly after seeing a person clearly. It's a pity that my youth has all been buried in Zayn. I can never go back. 10. After Peach had her abortion surgery, I brought her chicken soup to nourish her and reminded her of various precautions, so that she wouldn't end up with ailments that would torment her for the rest of her life like me. As we were talking, Peach suddenly cried, "Liv, I knew you were a good person the first time I met you, and I didn't want to break up your family. At that time, I really loved Zayn too much, and plus I didn't want you to be delayed for too long, so..." I gently held her in my arms. "It's okay. I believe you." It occurred to me that Zayn had targeted Peach because she was a socialite from the upper circles who was lacking in love and simple-minded, making her easy to deceive. After discussing our plan to fight back, I went back to Zayn again. As soon as we met, he hugged me tightly, and tears, whether real or fake, flowed down his face, with a joy of having regained what was lost, and he cried until his voice was hoarse. "Liv, as long as I wear this bracelet, you can monitor me 24 hours a day. I swear I won't do anything to hurt you again. And these gifts," he pointed to the mountain of jewelry behind him. "As long as you promise not to divorce me and not to run away from home, I can give them to you now. You can deposit them in the bank yourself." I didn't expect him to actually offer me tangible benefits to coax me. For a moment, I was a little stunned. "What about the assets?" "I'll transfer the assets back too. You can look at every transaction and monitor it at any time." Looking at his red eyes and haggard face, I couldn't help but ask, since you're so generous to me, why did you secretly transfer the assets? Peach was pregnant with your child. How could you just abandon her? Zane's answer caught me completely off guard. Liv, everything I've done is for the sake of having a child. He lay in my arms, smiling and pressing against my stomach the way I did when I was pregnant, except there were more tears in his eyes. You know I want a child. I dream about it. But your health isn't good, and you've had a miscarriage before. I didn't want to risk it, so I planned to secretly have a child with someone else and then bring it to you and say it was adopted. I chose Peach because she was easy to deceive. That way, even if I got the child and abandoned her, I could use her family background and appearance to control her. Transferring the assets was because I thought that after you found out, you would give me a chance to explain in consideration of the money. As he spoke, he looked at me infatuatedly. He said that neglecting me to be with Peach was only for the sake of the child. He said he was afraid that I would be sad and wouldn't understand him, so he had been painstakingly trying to hide it from me, as if the more effort he put in, the more he cared about me, and the greater the chance that I would forgive him. But all I felt was a bone-chilling fear more intense than ever before. I couldn't believe that the person I had shared a bed with for 8 years was a demon who would stop at nothing to achieve his goals. And that made me even more angry and disgusted than simple betrayal. But for the sake of the plan, I suppressed my anger and said that I forgave him. I not only want to monitor the assets, but I also want to be familiar with every business in the company. Can you do that? Seeing that I had relented, Zane happily promised, I will never hide a penny of the money's use from you. 11. The plan was simple. I would find out Zane's company's trade secrets, and Peach would use the Young family's vast resources to gradually devour Zane's company. If I were operating alone, I wouldn't be able to do anything with the information. Even if the Young family was powerful, they wouldn't be able to find Zane's weakness and wouldn't know where to start. With our cooperation, Zane's company was on the verge of bankruptcy in less than half a year. He stayed up until 2 or 3 in the morning every day before going home, and this time, it really was because he was busy with company affairs. Liv, the adoption thing will have to wait. I'll transfer some money to you. You go abroad first. The company's affairs are too thorny, and I'm not 100% sure. Zane, who had lost weight and looked haggard, had already thought of running away. After he transferred the money to me, I took out the divorce agreement that I had prepared long ago. Sign it. Peach gave me all the evidence of you cheating on her. Be quick about it. I don't want to make things too ugly. At that moment, Zane's eyes flashed with many complex emotions. Surprise, shock, and a deep sense of helplessness and despair. His eyes were red as he grabbed my hand, trembling. Liv, believe me, I can definitely make a comeback. Just give me time, and I dodged his hand, dropped all pretense, and looked at him coldly. I'm not divorcing you because of the money, but you don't have a chance to turn things around. Peach has been watching you. You tricked her so badly. She won't give you any room to breathe. Even if Zane was clever, he couldn't figure everything out at this moment. He pondered for a moment and painfully held his head. Wasn't Peach abandoned by the Young family? How could she have the ability to deal with me? I stood up and finally said what I had been hiding in my heart for more than half a year. Peach was never abandoned, and she never had a miscarriage. If you hadn't given up on Peach so decisively at that time, she would have continued to be deceived by you, continued to love you deeply, and even used the Young family's resources to help you join the Fortune 500. But it's a pity that you missed this opportunity. You were backstabbed by the prey you targeted. I didn't need to explain it thoroughly for Zane to understand everything. His pale face gradually turned red, and his eyes were half desperate and half angry. You tricked me? You set me up? My company is being targeted and is on the verge of bankruptcy. Did you do that too? I love you so much. To beg you to forgive me, I was even willing to give up my own son and promise to adopt one. How could you do this to me? Faced with his frantic accusations, I just sneered. Zane, you were the one who tricked me first. You were the one who tricked us first. We have already tasted the hate and pain you are feeling now. And ever since you cheated on Peach, for whatever reason, your love is no longer precious to me." After saying that, I let out a long sigh of relief. The frustration in my heart finally dissipated completely, and I left with light steps. I was live. You can punish me however you want. Just don't take everything away from me. Please don't leave me. I don't want a child anymore. I don't want anything. I just want you." He knelt on the ground, kowtowing fiercely and begging me not to leave. Even if he kowtowed until his head was covered in blood, I didn't give him another look. 1 year later, Zane, who had been blocked from all paths to a comeback, was half crazy and wandering the streets. When he saw a beautiful child, he would rush over to snatch it, thinking it was his own. Therefore, every time I saw him, he was covered in injuries from being beaten. Even so, Peach still gritted her teeth every time she mentioned him. That damn made me have an abortion. I don't even know how to tell my boyfriend. Hearing that she had a new boyfriend, I couldn't help but warn her, no matter what, there's no need to get surgery down there, I know. Peach smiled. I don't want a husband who can't be honest with me and sincerely accept me. The end.